Alright YouTube, so we were back of course talking about some Final Fantasy VII Remake. So with our last video, our last upload, we talked about Intergrade and the Yuffie DLC, kind of voiced our thoughts and opinion on it. Now we need to move forward and start making some regular content. So today what we have is kind of a roundup of some information regarding the Yuffie DLC. But before I hop into it, I'm going to throw this in this video. I wasn't sure if I want to do a standalone video about this topic or not, but Forever Entertainment is set to make multiple remakes on Square Enix IPs. This is obviously very, very exciting. This could be so many things. I mean, you can just go down the list of older Square Enix games that deserve a remake, stuff like the older like Star Ocean games. You have like Xenogears, you have Parasite Eve. Like that's a fantastic like survival horror RPG game made from Square Enix that definitely deserves a remake. I haven't played Parasite Eve in so damn long. And then, of course, you got to throw it out there, man. You have other Final Fantasy games that might get remakes as well, which wouldn't be a surprise necessarily because when it came to the remake project, initially they had CyberConnect 2 developing it, right? They were outsourcing for that sort of thing. They could be doing that here with Forever Entertainment. Like, and one of the big ones that a lot of people want is like a Final Fantasy VI remake, so who knows? And to kind of give you an idea of what they're doing, here's a side-by-side comparison of the original Panzer Dragoon versus the remake that they did, I think, last year. And goddamn, that has me excited for whatever they're going to remake. So anyways, on to the topic of the video. So we have info on like characters like Sonon, we have like DLC length, price, pre-order bonuses, things like that. Anyways, we're going to hop right into it. So the backstory on Sonon is Sonon trained under Yuffie's father and harbors a deep resentment of Shinra, following the devastation caused by the war between Shinra and Wutai. He has been assigned to work with Yuffie as she infiltrates Midgar, essentially making her his boss. So this I thought was pretty interesting because it puts Sonon in a completely different light. Like, he's not just somebody that knows Yuffie or maybe has helped or worked with Yuffie in the past. Like, they have legitimate history together because he is trained under her father, Godo. Also, the description says that he was assigned to help Yuffie on infiltrating Midgar, which means, you know, somebody gave him that job, presumably Godo or somebody else from Wutai, but also that this isn't just Yuffie coming to Midgar, like, of her own free will to do this. Like, somebody else knows that she's doing this. Again, maybe her father. Speaking of Yuffie coming to Midgar, we've seen on the description of the DLC that she's there looking for the quote-unquote ultimate materia, and I've seen some speculation on this. There's two things that I've seen that this could be. One of them is the huge materia, or a huge materia, which is certainly possible. Based on the original game, there's 4 huge materia, one in Junon, one in North Corel, one in Fort Condor, and there's one on like the rocket ship in Rocket Town. And the last one's an important one because we know that based on the original game, Shinra has a huge materia or gets their hands on a huge materia, so they could just have that be a thing in Remake where it's already in Midgard, they already have it, and that's what she's after. And it would make sense because the huge materia are supposed to be like hundreds of times more powerful than regular materia, which would obviously be very beneficial in Wutai fighting Shinra. The other speculation I've seen that is pretty interesting and honestly makes a lot of sense is her coming to Midgar for the Leviathan materia, which in the original game we earned from the Wutai side quest, like in Wutai, right? We got it from Godo. And narratively, I do think this makes a lot of sense because Leviathan is important to the people of Wutai, and it would actually give a narrative reason as to why the materia is within Midgar. Maybe during like the Midgar-Wutai war, they took the fucking Leviathan materia from them or something. And maybe that's why Yuffie's on this mission to go to Midgar and steal this quote-unquote ultimate materia, despite it not really being the ultimate materia, but it has a lot of, you know, importance to their people. They'd consider it the ultimate materia. Now onto the price of everything. So Intergrade itself is going to cost $70, which is a pretty standard price when it comes to like the PS5 games. They're between like $60 and $70. But this will be obviously the PS5 version. It'll have all the enhancements, but this also does include the Yuffie DLC. That's a part of the price tag. So you're getting the full game itself and the Yuffie DLC for $70. The problem here is that that's pricier than if you buy things separately. So right now, Remake itself is on sale for like $30-ish. And if you buy that, you obviously get to upgrade to the PS5 version for free. Then you're forced to buy the Yuffie DLC separate, which I believe costs, from what I've seen, around $20 to $30. But I think it's on the lower end of things. I think it's closer to around $20. Which, if you can do basic mathematics, would add up to around about $50. You can be saving yourself about $20-something if you buy things separately. Which, of course, is always recommended. Save yourself some money. But there are, if you want to call them that, incentives to, you know, buy a physical copy of the game or pre-order it, where you buy the full version. One of them is for the digital version only, that if you pre-order it, you get a bonus weapon for Yuffie, which I haven't seen a lot of places or people talk about. I don't even know if Square Enix themselves have really talked about it. This is randomly on like the PlayStation blog about Intergrade. And if you grab the deluxe edition, it's kind of similar to the base game. It comes with like the art book and the soundtrack and things, but the soundtrack, of course, is free right now on like streaming services, so you don't even need to buy that. And since we're talking about digital versions of this stuff, like the art is going to be online anyways for free if you just want to get that, so you don't need that either. So there's really no reason to grab this, other than if you want to pre-order the game digitally for the bonus weapon, which the bonus weapon could be exclusive to the pre-order. We've seen this with the base game, right? Chocobo Chick, which wasn't, you know, that good of a summon, was still a pre-order bonus, and as of right now, it still was the only way you could get it. Like, you can't buy that separately. Now, of course, we have no way of knowing whether or not this weapon is even worth that $70 pre-order price, but it's there if you want it. Some of the stuff that we honestly don't really need to talk about because you get the gist of it from the trailer, but might as well mention it, is like Yuffie can fight up close or at a range. She can use her weapon to like hit switches and stuff from afar, open up boxes from afar, and also use her like ranged abilities to like grab items. Also team attacks and stuff with Sonon, blah blah blah. This is stuff you guys already know. And last up for this video, and debatably the most important thing in this video, is the length and size of this DLC. And this is important because we know for a lot of people that they're going to have to buy a PS5 for the first time just to play this DLC, right? Which is a huge investment, and then you got to get your hands on the DLC itself, whether you're buying the full PS5 version or you're digitally upgrading by the DLC separate, whatever. We're talking hundreds of dollars here. What is the size of this DLC? So we actually do know the length of the DLC. It's going to be only 2 chapters, which could be good or bad depending on how long these chapters are. Like, if you base it off a remake, some of the chapters are short, some are decently long, just kind of depends. I'd be hopeful that there's at least a couple of hours to each chapter if they're only going to make it 2 chapters long. You'd think that that's going to equate to like 2 to 3 hours a chapter at the minimum, hopefully. Like, if it's only like an hour a piece, like you're going to, all this time we've been waiting for DLC, you're going to pay $20 to get a PS5 version of the game and all this other stuff, and then only play the DLC for like 2 hours or something. Like, that'd suck. A good estimation for the lengths of these, since they are referring to it as like an episode for Yuffie, is looking at like the Final Fantasy 15 episodes, which those range between like an hour, hour and a half or so, but with some extra content to make it around 2 hours or so. Just kind of depends. I can't vouch for all the episodes. I've never played them myself, just kind of looking online really quickly. I'll be completely honest with you guys, with this seeming like a relatively short DLC, at least on paper, I don't think it's like a necessary purchase. Like, I don't think you need to, if you can't get your hands on a PS5 right now, or it's not easy, you don't have the extra cash, I don't think you need to go out of your way to get one just to play this. Like, this is hundreds of dollars of investment for maybe just a couple of hours of gameplay. Like, yes, you're going to need a PS5 anyways in the future to, like, play Remake Part 2, but that's far away, right? With this seeming like it's a relatively short DLC, you could probably just watch a Let's Play on it instead and then just get it down the road at some point. And I do believe that's everything worth talking about right now in regards to like Intergrade and the Yuffie DLC. If there's other stuff out there that I've not mentioned or whatever or that are worth discussing, be sure and let me know in the comments. I am pretty interested in the character of Sonon now that I know he has like actual history with Wutai and Yuffie and her dad and things like that. And it sets a really cool precedent for the remake project because he's an absolutely brand new character. He's not like from anything. He's not from any sort of side project or side story within the FF7 compilation. So going forward with like the games and maybe even other DLCs, if there are any other DLCs, like we could be getting all kinds of brand new characters, which I think is really cool. That being said, there are actually plenty of established characters, big and small, from the FF7 compilation that I'd rather them expand on. I'd rather them expand on existing characters than creating new ones. But I'm not going to say no to new characters. By the way, dude, that is pretty much the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Once updated more Final Fantasy 7 Remake content. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @DashingDavidYT. I'm a Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description. And in the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine or leave it like Cobain.